Today I want to talk about Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I really like this movie. It's not at all as good as the first movie, but it's good, and it's very enjoyable to watch. I think the filmmakers did an excellent job at grasping what the first movie captured, right? It's kind of the same movie twice, right? The second movie's just in New York, but that's kind of what people want. You know what I mean? They want to see Macaulay Culkin. They want to see him alone, figuring his life out, getting into mischief, yada, 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 right? And I think it does a great job. It pulls you in the same way as the first one did. The difference, though, is that in the first Home Alone, you can kind of justify what Kevin is doing when Marv and Harry break into his house. You can kind of get on his side. And yes, in Home Alone 2, he's trying to save the toy store from getting its money stolen so that the money can go to the children's hospital. Yeah, I get that. But he's kind of crazy in this movie. Kevin, he's kind of sociopathic. He lures Marv and Harry into the house, and he proceeds to basically murder them as many ways as possible. Throwing a brick at somebody's head, it's a little over the top. You know what, though? I laugh every time. The third, fourth brick, laugh even harder. I think there's something to be said about how Daniel Stern can still play up that slapstick kind of humor. So even something that is clearly devastatingly deadly and painful, he still can make it kind of lighthearted. I really like these 90s, I call them kids movies, right? Just because the main character is a child doesn't necessarily mean it's a movie for kids. But that's kind of the implication, right? But one of the reasons I like these 90s movies, like Home Alone and Home Alone 2, the older 90s movies, they're still kind of tailored for adults, right? But they're accessible to kids as well. A lot of the newer kids movies nowadays, I feel like, are really focused in on, yeah, they're for families, but they're really focused in on that kid humor. And as I get older, I really appreciate a movie that I feel like is written for me as an adult and that kids can also partake in. Obviously, if I'm a kid, I want the movie to be for me, right? But I'm selfish because I can do what I want. I'm an adult. One of the reasons I like going back to these movies over and over, obviously there's the nostalgia factor that I watched them when I was a kid, but they don't feel like they're kids movies, and that you can only appreciate it if you're a kid. And I think that helps make these movies feel timeless. Obviously technology and the cars and computers and all that stuff in the movies are dated, but the story isn't. And the emotion that the movie forces you to have isn't dated, right? And I think that's why Home Alone and Home Alone 2 will stand the test of time. Like I said, Home Alone 2, definitely not as good as Home Alone. But will I watch both movies every single year, every Christmas? Absolutely. What's next on my list? Home Alone, and then obviously I'm going to watch Home Alone 2 again.